Hey everybody, this is Mr. Hagan, and on this video I'm going to try to answer the question, what is money? And that seems like it'd be a really easy question to answer, but it turns out to be much more confusing than you might think. And so before we ask the question, what is money? I think we have to ask two other questions, and they are, what is the purpose of money? And why does money exist? Why does money exist in the first place? So, to consider that, let's look at these two people right here. So, here we have some farmer over here, and he's got some eggs from his chickens. And we have this lady over here as a cobbler, and she has made a pair of boots. And let's say that this guy wants a pair of boots, and she wants some eggs. So, as long as she wants some eggs and he wants a pair of boots, these two people can trade with each other. And when they do, we call that barter. Barter is when you trade one good for another, like eggs for a pair of boots. So the way it would work is pretty simple. This guy would give her some eggs. So she would now have some eggs, and she would give him a pair of boots. So this guy would now have boots. And there you are. They're both better off as a result of the trade, or else they wouldn't have engaged in the trade. He's happy to get his boots. She's happy to get some eggs. The problem with barter, it's great when it can happen, but the problem is it has a big limitation. And the big limitation is what economists call a double coincidence of wants. A double coincidence of wants. And that's a long phrase for a very simple idea. And that says, double coincidence of wants says that these two people can only trade with each other if both people have something that the other wants. So they can only trade with each other if she wants eggs and he wants boots. If that's not true, then they can't trade with each other. Let me say that one more time. They can only trade with each other if she wants his eggs and he wants her boots. Otherwise, they can't trade. That's the problem of a double coincidence of wants. Now, money is going to help solve that problem for us. So let's add a third guy to our conversation. We have this guy down here, and he grows wheat. So let's say that this guy up here, he wants some wheat. He doesn't want boots anymore. He wants wheat. And so he meets this lady, and he would like to trade with her. And he says, hey, lady, I'll give you some eggs if you give me some wheat. But she says, well, I don't have any wheat. I only have boots. Oh, well, then they can't trade. Except she could say this. He says, hey, I have some eggs to give you. And she could say, oh, well, all I have is boots. You don't want boots, but I can give you money. I'll give you some money. And so now this guy has money in his pocket. And a couple days later, he goes into town and he meets this guy right here who is selling wheat. And so now he can say, well, you know what? I'd like some wheat. And this guy says, well, that's great, but I don't want any of your eggs. So what are we going to do? Well, he can say, I'll give you some of this money that I have. I have this money, and you give me some wheat. And this guy says, well, yeah, I'd be glad to have some of your money. I'll give you some wheat for that. And now they can engage in trade. So you see, we no longer have the double coincidence of wants problem. Money has solved that. Even if we don't want the same thing, even if we don't want something that the other person has, we can trade for money. This guy gave her eggs, got money in return, and then he took that money and he bought wheat from this other person. And so they're able to get to engage in trade. So let's just review what we just said. What is the purpose of money? The purpose of money is to allow us to no longer have to barter. We don't have to barter with each other anymore. We no longer have to worry about the double coincidence of wants. We no longer have to worry about everybody wanting the same thing or what the other person has. We don't have to worry about that anymore. No more barter. Why does money exist? Because it makes it easier to trade. And people like to trade with each other. And money makes it easier to trade. Now, I still never answered the original question. What is money? I will answer that on the next video. This has been Mr. Hagen. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you on the next video.